all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends, I decided that I'd give it one good try.
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. My name is Andrew Poor. I go by Andrew Putters. That's my partner, Joe Nicely. We're going to get right into this. We've got all kinds of technical difficulties. I think Joe has we're just so fired up about the Masters. He's put so much information, that computer just quit working tonight. So we want first and foremost, thank you for the leader for our show, Rotoballer.com. Go to Rotoballer.com. They got everything you need for all the daily fantasy needs. We've got a course history report. We've got Joe does the core four. Joe's the horse for the course article. We do one and done pieces. We've got a roundtable where we answer questions. Spencer's doing the gamble thing, just absolutely destroyed it last weekend. And by the way, we're offering showdown stuff since we got the showdown stuff going in 2021. Go down there, $69.99 for the rest of the year. You can use the promo code NICE. Helps us out. So Joe Nicely, with all the technical difficulties going on, we still got work to do. We will just real quick hit on the tournament last weekend, match play. Kind of surprising the horse will win, but anything can happen in this match play. Joe, do you have any thoughts about the tournament last weekend?
Yeah, not really. Nothing major, man, other than, we expected surprises and we're not surprised to see huge surprises. So Billy Horschel obviously is a guy we know that's got tons of upside, has demonstrated at different times. So not a shocking win, but certainly hadn't been in tremendous form. Popped a couple times this year, but he's a tough competitor, a bulldog. Scotty Sheffield, obviously there have been lots of signs that he was playing well, so not a surprise to see him there. But it's kind of becoming commonplace to see the big names out early in that thing. So really fun event. It's once a year, and that might be one too many times for some people, but I think it's pretty cool. And I always like to see it, like doing the bracket thing. Had a lot of fun with that last week. So yeah, man, it's pretty fun. Real excited to kind of get back to stroke play and head to Valero and get ready for the Masters, man. I'm topping out the Masters Bible that we do on Rotoballer, and I think I blew my computer up. So we're roughing it tonight, but glad everybody's here with us, and we're going to try to get you some good info on Valero.
Absolutely. Moving right into Texas Valero Open. This is an old tournament, one of the oldest ones on tour, 1922 is when it started. Basically had the word Texas in the name for quite some time. But it's changed the name back in, I think, 2002 maybe, to Texas Valero Open. Like I said, very historic event, played at the TPC San Antonio since 2010 when the course opened. That course was designed by Greg Norman. Par 72, almost 7,500 yards. The greens are fast, run 11 on stent meter. I feel like this tournament, Joe, in the fantasy world is known pretty well just because it usually is right around Augusta. So a lot of people are paying attention to this tournament. A lot of people pay attention to Hilton Head after the Masters. So I feel like there's going to be, at least for me, I follow this tournament every year just for that reason. I look before and after. This course has got Poana greens with some Bermuda and fescue out on the course. Tons of past champions in the event. Can't even really start to mention, the list is too long. Saying that to say this, let's just get right into DraftKings, Joe. What's the story on DJ out? Is it a rest for the Masters, or we got an injury? What we got?
Yeah, no injury that we see, Andrew. He added this tournament really late in the week last week, kind of after the early exit from the match play. And I guess just changed his mind, more than likely decided he could prepare better from home. So withdrew today. So make sure DJ's not in your lineups. I was kind of pumped, man, to see him play this one. Kind of reminiscent of him playing the Houston Open before the November Masters a few months ago. But I think maybe got him fired up a little bit. So I hope we get a kind of energized and focused DJ. There's a little controversy there with Kevin Na kind of kind of schooling him on the gimme. So maybe that got DJ going a little bit, and I was actually excited to see him this week. But hopefully we still kind of get a focused DJ at the Masters. But yeah, DJ's out, which leaves Tony Fenow at the top of the board. Not a great history with him, Andrew, kind of when he's the top play on the board. He's had a great year in 2021, several runner-ups. I think you're in off 3 or 4 in a row there at one time. But I just don't know that you can pay all the way up for Fenow because we know, the issues with the wins. What are your thoughts on him up there, man? And I'm sure you want to run through the rest of the high price guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start on Tony Fenow. I'm fading him big time this week. You can't pay up 11 for him. The guy that has basically no win equity, even though he's this course probably sets up as good for him as any golf course on tour, still has pretty much a 0% win equity in my mind. And really I think the win, the person that can win here is kind of spread out. We've seen not all sorts of really different players win. For the most part, it's going to be guys that hit their irons very well. For the most part, hit a pretty long ball off the tee. Not saying that, Ryan Palmer, he had 3 top 5s back to back. Not saying that he can't win and play well here. It's just the golf course is long. They're going, if they bust a drive, they're still hitting mid irons into the green. So, that's why Corey Connors, he's a fairly long hitter, not super long, but he hits his irons well and he hits it long. Same thing with Hoffman, who's won here in the past, hits his irons well, hits it long. People that succeeded over the years here. If you look back, wouldn't be surprised, and we're going to go through this a little bit, but you see some guys in the 6s that you like, where'd they come from? Well, guess what? They hit it long and they had a good iron week and they putted it pretty well that week. And that's why they jumped up there. And saying that to say this, like I said, pay attention to this tournament every year. It's always exciting. It usually comes down to the last hole, which is not necessarily a gettable par 5, but if you hit a great little shot into the green, it's very birdable with the little pin up on the plateau. It's exciting, man. It's an exciting tournament. Year in, year out, exciting tournament. Strangely enough, the guy with over the last 5 years, best tournament history is none other than the Jimmy Walker, who's 6,100. So I'm not going to start there, but we'll start up the top. Fenow, Spieth, Scheffler, Matsuyama. Matsuyama hadn't played in the last 5 years. Jordan's he missed 3 years. He played well way back in the day, but that's whenever he was playing well every week. This course really doesn't set up good for him, but does it matter at this point, Joe? I mean, are we all fully on the Jordan Spieth bandwagon at this point?
I'm in, man. I'm in. Kind of took a little bit of a wait and see approach there, even though we jumped out on him at Pebble Beach and he played really well there. So yeah, man, I'm in. Has played well here. Hasn't played this tournament often lately, but had a runner-up finish here back in 2015, I believe, 2016, somewhere in there, and I also had a top 10 the year prior to that. So his iron play, man, is what's driving this thing, Andrew, and that's what makes me think it's sustainable, and that's what's got me, kind of excited for this week and especially for next week. So, the price kind of grows, but you almost feel that Spieth is more likely to win this tournament than Tony Fenow, if he's playing well. If that makes any sense, I feel like he's got a little bit more of that closer killer instinct. He's been in the mix several times already this year. So, yeah, man, that kind of long answer to your question. I'm in. And the reason I'm in is because of the iron play. We're all kind of hoping that Spieth can do it next week. We want to see that magic at Augusta, but, he'll take a win anywhere he can get one right now, Andrew. So, you better believe he's going to be trying to get things dialed in and win this tournament this week.
I'd like to see about a 40th place finish, honestly, but it doesn't really matter. He's going to be what he is at Augusta, no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think. I was kind of thinking that too. I don't think it's going to dent his ownership. I think he's still going to be extremely popular next week. Kind of no matter what he does this week. I think folks are in, and I imagine he'll be with DJ out now. I imagine he'll be popular this week as well.
Yeah, I agree. Scotty Sheffield right behind Jordan. Had a pretty good week last week. Finished runner up. Matsuyama hasn't played here in a while. Answer, of course, Abe Answer, of course, really don't set up for him, and he's made the cut here, but not really great finishes. So um, I'm not really sure where to go. I'm probably going to start the lineup down here around 9,500 if I'm looking at it. Corey Connors, last year's winner. You hate always the hate always to plug in last year's winner, but I mean, it is what it is. He's a good player.
Yeah, no question about it, man. I love Corey Connors this week. One of my favorite plays on the board. Like you mentioned, he's a great place to start if you don't want to kind of swallow the Fenow Spieth pill up there at those prices. Won it the last time it was played in 2019. Played absolutely amazing this year. Looked really good at the Players. Looked really good at the Arnold Palmer. And he's just striking the ball tremendously well, man. And that's what we're looking for this week. If I'm circling one thing, it's ball striking this week, Andrew. And you can make the argument Corey Connors is doing it as well as anyone on the PGA Tour right now. So certainly like Corey Connors. I think there's a couple different places you can go there in the nines. We can talk about Ryan Palmer. Charlie Hoffman has amazing course history. But, as far as tee to green consistency and a guy you think is going to be there this week, Connors gets the kind of the nod from me there at 9,500.
I could not agree more. Like I said, like you said, you got Ryan Palmer as well, but I'm gonna start at Corey Connors here. Sliding on down to a couple of guys that are intriguing to me: Hoffman, Steele, and Matt Kuchar showing a little sign of life last week. Touch on those a little bit, Joe.
Go find my mic. Oh yeah, really like Charlie Hoffman. He's been amazing at this golf course. Won here in 2016. Just been ridiculously good. Had 3 top 5s, I think, here. And he's playing really well this year. Posted a couple of top 10s. Grades out first in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 12 and 24 rounds. So, we're not just relying on course history here with Charlie. There's some really good ball striking form, and that's what we're looking for this week's iron play. So, I'm definitely more comfortable going with Hoffman than with Kuchar, who kind of popped out of nowhere. Man, he's the dude's been on a milk carton all year long, and now with one good outing last week, he's all the way up to 9K. I mean, are we really going to pay 9K for a guy that ranks 97th, I think, in this week's field in strokes gained tee to green this year? Maybe. People will be hopping on, but I would rather, pay a little extra for what you feel like is safety in Connors, take a shot at the upside with the Palmer or Hoffman than I would Kuchar there at 9. I can kind of understand the play there, but it's probably not one I'll be making with just how bad Kuchar's been throughout the year so far.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth, Joe. I'm not on the Kuchar bandwagon yet. Probably won't be ever again. But sliding down, a guy I'm ready to jump back on after just taking a few weeks off in my heart, Chris Kirk looks pretty good at 8,600, Joe. Chris Kirk all the way.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Played well at this golf course as well. 3 top 13 finishes in his last 5 starts here. Multiple top 10s. We know kind of about the dramatic runner up at the Sony. Had a top 10 at the API, was right there in the thick of things at the Players before kind of a bad round and knocked out a top 25 at the Honda. So, you lock him in the win. I don't think that's something we've touched on yet. If we see some wins this week, that can make this golf course play tough. The kind of the legendary Texas wins out there. Kirk can handle those. And he can handle this golf course. He's a tremendous ball striker, man. When you look at his stats, you just see strokes gained in every statistic. So he's just playing really well tee to green right now, Andrew. This is higher than we've been seeing him at 8.6, but I'm really willing to go there. And I kind of also like the guys that are stacked around him, and Lanto Griffin and Zach Johnson. Would lean a little more Lanto there, but Zach's got great course history and showed a little something at the Honda. So, I think you can give him a look with this type of field we're looking at this week. But, yeah, Chris Kirk, he's our boy, and he certainly stands out for me again this week. I'll be going back.
Absolutely. Zach Johnson's had some success here at the past, but really doesn't his game really doesn't shape his course. I'd favor more of the Keegan Bradley. Dumel's coming off a high. They're winning in the Caribbean. Sliding down a little bit further, you want to get on these guys. Ricky Fowler's up against it. Aaron Wise, you got to think this course would fit him. Sam Burns the same way. Either one of them's had much success here. Somebody has had success that I'm looking at here, 7,900. That I'm not. I'm probably going to breeze over because he let us down when he was a big heart play for me a couple weeks ago. Ryan Moore's had 2 top tens the last 2 years. 2018 finished or 2017 finished tied for 18th. The course does not fit him though, Joe, and we've said this over and over. You want to play courses that fit. If you look up at strokes gained for this tournament over the last 5 years, you go down through here: Jimmy Walker, Hoffman, Chappell, Kurt, Brandon Grace, Matt Kuchar, Corey Connors. That's in the top 10. Those 7 names I just named, and all those in that time period did one thing in common. They hit their mid to long irons well, strokes gain iron well. And that's what we want to be looking in this tournament over and over again. You cannot get that beat into your brain enough going forward. So, might be one of those weeks where you take a look at a Charles Howell or a Matt Wallace. They're still down there in the high 7s. I know I threw a lot of names at you: Sam Burns, Aaron Wise, Fowler. We got technical difficulties now at the poorhouse. I named a bunch of names there, Joe. Give me a couple.
Yeah, man, a lot of the guys you named. I mean, I think it's guys that are going to garner some ownership this week. You mentioned Aaron Wise and Sam Burns, 2 kind of more guys more in the bomber mold. While we're focused more on ball strikers, but I think those guys, deserve consideration this week on this type of slate. Ryan Moore, you mentioned, has great course history, burned a ton of people at the Honda, us included, but that's just kind of what Ryan Moore does, right? So, I mean, I think you can consider just getting right back on the wagon there at 7-9, even though it's pretty gross. And another guy you mentioned, Andrew, who I'm kind of intrigued with this week's Brandon Grace, man. At 7.8K, 2 top 10s in his last 2 Valero starts in 2016 and 2017, and won the Puerto Rico Open, but it didn't completely come out of nowhere. Had good finishes at the Genesis prior to winning, and a pretty solid finish at the API after that. So, Grace is playing some good golf, and at one time, he was a top 25 player in the world that we kind of routinely count on in majors. So, if you're kind of stuck between a Ryan Moore and a Brandon Grace, I'd maybe lean Brandon Grace there. And those guys are kind of the ones that pop out to me in kind of that mid 7K up to 8K range. Several guys I like below 7.5, but those are kind of the 2 that stick out for me. They're kind of the upper 7s.
Okay, now moving in the mid to low 7s, Joe. I mean, big name here. You got Woodland, Munoz. I really like EVR play here. I'm never going to jump on his bandwagon just because he's not somebody that usually gets in the hole that well. Hits it great though, but week like this, you can give him a look. If we have wins, you got to see a score around 10 under. If we don't have wins, you're going to see about a 16 to 18 under winner. So, and with that being said, if we got wins, man, EVR, love that play. Lucas Glover, I hate to say it. You got wins, you gotta love him in this tournament. Not necessarily he's a great win player, but pars is just a score he shoots a lot. So that's gonna bring the field in a little bit. Martin Laird's pretty intriguing here at low 7s. Maybe the best value play on the board here at 7,100.
Yeah, there's some options there, man. There's some value guys in that range that I really like. Sam Ryder jumped out to me at 7.4. 2 for 2 in cuts at Valero. No real high finishes, but he's playing really well. He's a streaky guy, kind of like a poor man's Billy Horschel. To bring up last week, kind of had a T8 at the Honda. He's coming off a runner-up at Corrales, so gained 12.4 strokes total last week at Corrales. So there's a high bust rate there. It seems like anytime he's very popular, he busts. But he's a guy you can look at in GPPs, especially if his ownership's kind of trending low. Even though I expect people to kind of find their way to him a little bit. You mentioned Martin Laird, a veteran there. Kind of a younger guy that I'd like to talk about at 7-1 is Chase Seifert, man. He's been absolutely killing it with his irons. Has playing great golf. Had a T15 in Puerto Rico, a T3 at the Honda, T18 at Corrales. So, I think he's certainly a guy you can look at, and he's not really going to pop in a lot of statistical models because, he played so well at Puerto Rico and at Corrales, and those stats aren't in a lot of model generators. So I think you can look at Chase Seifert there at 7-1. And another guy we kind of really like on this show, Andrew, one of our favorites, Harry Higgs at 7-1. The irons are firing, man. He's second in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 12 rounds. Third in ball striking, had a T29 at the Players and a T19 at the Honda. Led the Honda field in strokes gained approach. If we're looking for ball striking this week, Andrew, Higgs has the irons going, man. And then kind of rounding out the sevens, Bryce Garnett, just kind of a veteran, journeyman, experienced, has played well lately, played well at Corrales, has been a cut maker in this event in the past, made 4 out of 4 career cuts at Valero. So, I think Bryce Garnett's a guy you can look at if you're just trying to round out rosters, fill out your 6-man spot. And that about does it for me in the sevens, Andrew. Tell me if I missed anybody, man. There's a couple 6K guys I'm willing to look at this week. I think you can go there. But what do you think, man? Anybody else in the sevens and get down into the sixes? What's your thoughts?
Cam Champ, Luke Liss, or some people I'm at least look at. Maybe a Tom Hogue. Luke Liss, just a great ball striker. We got to have win though I feel like for him to succeed. Slide on down the sixes. I got a few names I'm going to put at you, Joe. Nick Taylor, 6,900. Nate Lashley, 6,900. Rory Sabatini, 6,900. And 2 guys we're auto clicking this week. Will Gordon, 6,800. Patrick Carter, 6,800. These are courses that you're going to want them on your roster. Big games from out of these two. Big possibilities out of this two. I know it seems like we talk about these. They get brought up a lot, but we like them. So your thoughts on those names I just threw out?
Yeah, man. I love Will Gordon. Has played really well. Has just been consistently making cuts, kind of finding his way on the PGA Tour right now. Settling in nicely as a pro. We kind of hoped it was coming last year, but he's getting there slowly but surely. And then Patrick Rogers, another guy you mentioned, the guy that can always pop up. Somebody we always want to look at when there's 4 par 5s there. So definitely interested in those 2 guys. And another name I'll bring up, a former winner, Kevin Chappell, a guy we've basically not talked about in a couple of years, Andrew. Won here in 2017. Had a couple of huge runner-ups in major events, the Players, the Memorial Tour Championship. Chappell had runner-ups in all those. Won here in 2017. Looked like he was in store for, really big things, and then had a really scary back injury. He had to have a major back surgery in 2018, and it's been tough on him coming back, man. So he had a T13 at the Honda. That was his best finish in almost a year and a half. He's gained strokes in his last 2 starts, has played really well here. Like I said, former winner, and also has a T4 on his resume here. So Kevin Chappell's a guy you can look at 6'9" in GPPs. And a young guy I want to bring up, Andrew. I don't think we've ever talked about him on the show before. At 6.8K, Grayson Sigg. He's a Georgia boy. We know the Georgia Bulldogs, kind of as bad as it hurts us ball fans to say, are dominating right now on the PGA Tour. And Grayson Sigg's kind of the next great player to come out of Georgia. Finished top 10 on the Korn Ferry Tour last year, would be on the PGA Tour right now if it weren't for COVID. And he's played really, really well. Had a T10 at Corrales last week. First in all-around statistics on the Korn Ferry Tour last season. So I really, really like Grayson Sigg there. Not a name a lot of people know. A young guy that we can maybe catch, at an affordable price. I think he's going to be a PGA Tour regular very, very soon. So I like Grayson Sigg there at 6'8". Anybody you like bargain basement wise this week? There's one name I got for you down there, but I'll see if you're throwing anybody out in the low 6s.
Well, I want to go ahead and hit the Kevin Chappell. Our good friend Kendall Neese used to call him Kevin Chappelle. So the old Kevin Chappelle we used to roster.
Not to be confused with Dave.
Not to be confused with Dave, yeah. There's the sixes are interesting to me because there's a lot of guys down here with great capability, but are not consistent. And I'm gonna say like Rafa Cabello is one of those guys. Charles Schwartzel's basically went away on the PGA Tour. He's one of those guys. Chelson Headley's the same way. Stallings has had success here in the past. Not really playing into his game right now. He kind of started trending downward and on the way at the end of the West Coast. Really in the fourth round at Pebble. Another one that's trending backwards that we love, Doc Redman. Same thing there. I'll tell you a guy I like and had a top 10 last year, Danny Lee, like that name at 6,500. A guy I really like this week. Not really. A guy that could do well. Some ball strikers down here. You got Ryan Armour. You got Kyle Stanley. Kevin Mitchell. Scott Harrington could play well here. JB Holmes could play well here, Joe. Like I said, we're looking at the same thing over and over again. Consistency, long hitting off the tee, good iron play. Sun Kang, anytime irons come into play, he's going to be somewhere around around 25th place. So who's that name? Who's that deep dive you're looking at this week, Joe, before we get into the heart play?
Well, no, you were kind of mentioning those guys, and Graham McDowell popped to mind. Has not played well this year at all, but played really well at Corrales last week. Kind of popped in there, and he's 3 for 3 and made cuts here, and has played well on this golf course. Just kind of a guy that popped to mind when you were naming off some of those other guys, especially if there's any wind going. Maybe we can catch a hot hand with Graham McDowell. Maybe you found something last week, but the name I was going to throw at you is Austin Eckroat. He's currently at Oklahoma State right now. He's kind of the next stud that's going to be coming out of there. We'll be seeing him very soon. He's going to be on the Walker Cup team in May, representing the U.S. in May on the Walker Cup team, and played really well. He's still an amateur, but he got a sponsor's invite to Mayakoba, Andrew, which is also a Greg Norman design, and had a T12 there. And he was actually tied for second at one point early in the weekend in Mayakoba. So just a name to throw out you there if you're punting in GPPs. The kid's inexperienced, but he's very, very talented. So Austin Eckroat is a name you can consider there if you're deep diving this week. Just wanted to touch on him.
I don't know where you come up with these guys, Joe. You pull them out of nowhere. You must get the NCAA Read magazine or something.
Grayson Sig, Austin Eckroat this week, Andrew. That's your two under the radar. Young up and comers, ton of talent.
I like it, Joe. Man, there's a lot of guys in these sixes that used to be really good at golf. I mean, I'm just looking through here. Sean O'Hare, Nick Watney, Henrik Stenson. These guys used to be good at golf, folks, and used to put a pummel, especially Nick Watney. We thought he was the next regime of golfer and has really went away. Not to harp on that too much, Joe. Where's your heart at this week, Joe?
Interesting. I don't want to pull him out too early. And I said Jordan Spieth last week, and I might say Jordan Spieth next week. But I'm going to say Corey Connors, man. I just really like the way he's playing. It's certainly not going out on a limb. He's kind of the official defending champion of this event, but we might see something we hadn't seen in a while, Andrew. And that's a guy going back to back in a tournament. Corey Connors, where my heart is. Love the way he's striking the ball. Love his iron play on this golf course, man.
I like the play. You're looking for Corey Connors to go back to back, or what we'd call back to back 1 and 19. I'm gonna stick home. I'm gonna stick my guns home. I'm gonna go Chris Kirk wins his second event of this season right here on this golf course. He hits it far enough, hits his irons good enough, especially if we have any wind at all. Big advantage for him. You get that little flat stick going, Chris.
Love it.
Staying home with Chris Kirk.
Let's get him in the Masters. Let's get him in the Masters with a win this week.
That's right. Chris Kirk, Texas Valero champion 2021. Mark it down, folks. Shout out to Bubba Watson on his little first tee rib on Patrick Reed. Best one ever seen all year. Did you see that, Joe?
I saw that. Somebody said they asked Reed who his best friend on tour was, and he said Bubba. And Bubba said, "You mean we're friends or something like
Oh,
that?"
he said we still gonna be friends after this match, Bubba. And he said, "You mean we're friends anyway?" You know. So
I saw something on Twitter that I think it's been a few years ago, and somebody asked Reed who his best friend on tour was, and I think he said Henrik Stenson or something, and Stenson was asked about it, and he's like, "I played a practice round with the guy at Augusta once." I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Reed walks his own path, man. He's like Kang from Kung Fu. He's just walking the earth, trying to get advantages and win golf tournaments, man.
Well, by the time this podcast comes out, folks, we'll have an announcement with merch Wednesday. Check your Twitter feed. We're going to have an announcement for the Masters. That is going to be huge announcement for the Masters for the Turn Fantasy Golf Pod and Rotoballer in their partnership. Big announcement coming up. That's all I'm going to say on that on the way out. I'm Andrew Putters. That's Joe Nicely. This is the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast brought to you by rotoballer.com.
It's